Emma Collins had always believed in the fairy tale version of love, where the person you marry is your soulmate, your partner for life, and your source of unwavering support. For a time, her life seemed to mirror that dream. Emma, a bright and determined woman in her late 20s, had married Ryan Carter, her charming college sweetheart. They were the perfect couple, or so everyone thought. Their journey began in their sophomore year at university, where Ryan's effortless charisma and Emma's steady ambition brought them together. Emma admired Ryan's confidence, and he seemed drawn to her grounded personality and sharp intellect. By the time graduation rolled around, their future felt clear. They were meant to be. Soon after, they tied the knot in a beautiful ceremony that left Emma feeling like the luckiest woman alive. She envisioned a lifetime of happiness, filled with shared dreams and unconditional love. The couple moved into a cozy house on the outskirts of New York, nestled near a quiet, forested area. The location was idyllic, close enough to the city for convenience, yet far enough to enjoy the serenity of nature. Their home was warm and inviting, with Emma's personal touch evident in every corner. For her, it was more than just a house. It was a symbol of the life she was building with Ryan. Ryan, on the surface, was a devoted husband. He worked as a business consultant, a career that kept him busy but brought in a comfortable income. Emma, on the other hand, had recently taken over her late father's business, a boutique firm specializing in artisanal products. It was her way of honoring her father's legacy, and she poured her heart into making it thrive. While managing the business was demanding, Ryan appeared supportive, often reassuring her that they were a team. Adding to Emma's sense of security was Ryan's mother, Helena Parker. Initially, Helena had welcomed Emma into the family with open arms. She seemed like the perfect mother-in-law, warm, affectionate, and full of wisdom. Helena often visited their home, bringing thoughtful gifts and sharing stories from her past. Emma genuinely appreciated her presence, believing she had gained not just a husband, but a second family. The first year of Emma and Ryan's marriage was everything Emma had hoped for. Weekends were spent hiking the nearby trails, enjoying peaceful picnics surrounded by towering trees and crisp mountain air. Helena occasionally joined them, her cheerful demeanor making these outings even more enjoyable. Emma thought she had struck gold with her in-laws, often telling her friends how lucky she was to have married into such a loving family. However, as with many fairy tales, cracks began to appear beneath the surface. The second year of their marriage brought subtle but significant changes. Helena's once supportive remarks turned into thinly veiled criticisms. "You've done a fine job with the business, so far, Emma," she would say, her tone laced with condescension. "But don't you think Ryan should have more involvement? After all, he's the one with real business acumen." Emma tried to brush off these comments, chalking them up to Helena's overprotective nature. But they became more frequent, and soon, Ryan started echoing similar sentiments. He began suggesting that they merge Emma's business with a larger firm or even consider selling it. "It's for the best," he insisted one evening. "Why carry all that stress when we could simplify things?" The once happy home started to feel less like a sanctuary and more like a battleground. Emma found herself defending her decisions, not just to Ryan but to Helena, who seemed increasingly involved in their lives. It became clear that Helena believed Emma's business should be a family asset, something that could benefit Ryan as much as Emma. The pressure grew, but Emma was determined to hold her ground. The business was her father's legacy, and she couldn't imagine handing over control. She hoped Ryan would understand, but his attitude began to shift. The man who once seemed so devoted became distant, his warm smiles replaced by cold indifference. Emma convinced herself it was just a rough patch, a phase they would work through together. She clung to the hope that their love was strong enough to weather any storm. Despite the growing tension, Emma continued to prioritize her marriage. She planned special dinners, suggested weekend getaways, and even tried to involve Ryan more in her business. But every effort seemed to fall flat. Helena, meanwhile, became bolder in her criticisms, often pointing out how Emma's focus on the business was neglecting her duties as a wife. It was as if the supportive mother-in-law Emma had once admired had been replaced by someone entirely different. Emma couldn't pinpoint the exact moment things had gone wrong, but she knew the cracks in their relationship were deepening. The idyllic life she had envisioned was slowly unraveling, and she couldn't shake the feeling that something darker was at play. Little did she know, the betrayal she would soon uncover would change her life forever. Emma Collins's once picture-perfect life was beginning to crumble. The loving husband she had trusted and the mother-in-law she had admired were changing in ways she couldn't have imagined. Subtle shifts in their behavior turned her days into a nightmare, making her question everything she thought she knew about her marriage. Helena Parker, who had once been warm and encouraging, began to show a different side. Her supportive facade gave way to a critical and manipulative demeanor. It started with minor remarks about Emma's management of her late father's business. "You're doing fine, Emma," Helena would say, her tone dripping with condescension. "But wouldn't it be smarter to let Ryan take a leadership role? He has a natural flair for business, and it's only right for the family to take charge." Emma tried to ignore the comments at first, reminding herself that Helena was just being protective of her son. But the remarks kept coming, each one chipping away at Emma's confidence. Over time, Helena's attitude shifted from passive-aggressive hints to outright demands. She insisted that Emma merge her business with a larger corporation or sell it outright, arguing it was the only way to secure the family's future. When Emma refused, the criticism turned personal. "You're too stubborn for your own good," Helena snapped one evening during dinner. "Your father's business was his pride, but you're holding onto it like it's a trophy. Ryan deserves a say in this too. He's your husband after all." Emma was stunned by Helena's tone, but even more hurt by Ryan's silence. He sat across the table, his eyes fixed on his plate, refusing to meet Emma's gaze. It was becoming a pattern. The man who had once showered her with love and support was now distant, almost detached. He echoed Helena's demands, urging Emma to consider her responsibilities to the family. "Emma, it's not just about you," Ryan said one night, his voice cold and matter-of-fact. "This business could be so much more if we handled it differently. You're clinging to something that's holding us back." The words stung, not just because of their content but because of the way Ryan delivered them, with a tone so impersonal it felt like she was talking to a stranger. Emma tried to reason with him, explaining how much her father's business meant to her, but Ryan brushed off her feelings as unimportant. It was clear his priorities had shifted, and Emma was no longer at the center of his world. What Emma didn't know was that Ryan's growing indifference wasn't just about the business. He had been hiding a dark secret, one that would shatter Emma's trust forever. Ryan was involved with Angela Harris, a wealthy and influential businesswoman who had recently entered their social circle. Angela was everything Helena believed Emma wasn't: affluent, powerful, and, most importantly, willing to hand Ryan the lifestyle he craved. Helena, ever the strategist, fully supported the affair. She saw Angela as a better fit for Ryan, a partner who could elevate his status and secure the financial future Helena wanted for her family. In Helena's eyes, Emma was an obstacle, someone who didn't align with their ambitions. And so, the mother-son duo began to plot against her. Emma began to notice subtle signs of Ryan's betrayal. He started coming home late, claiming he was busy with work meetings or networking events. His phone, once left casually on the kitchen counter, was now glued to his hand or locked with a passcode Emma didn't know. She dismissed her suspicions at first, not wanting to believe that the man she loved could be unfaithful. But the evidence was piling up, and Emma couldn't ignore it any longer. The breaking point came when Emma stumbled upon a receipt for an expensive necklace, a gift she had never received. Confronting Ryan, she demanded to know the truth. Cornered, he finally admitted to the affair but showed no remorse. "Angela understands me," he said coldly. "She sees my potential and knows how to help me achieve it. You're too focused on your father's business to see what we could have together." Emma's world crumbled. The man she had built her life with had not only betrayed her, but was unapologetic about it. To make matters worse, Helena openly supported the affair. "Angela is a better match for Ryan," she told Emma bluntly. "She's everything you're not. If you truly cared about Ryan, you'd step aside and let him have the life he deserves. The betrayal cut deep, but Emma wasn't ready to give up without a fight. She knew that Helena and Ryan's ultimate goal was to take over her business, and she was determined not to let them succeed. However, Emma underestimated the lengths they were willing to go. What began as manipulation and emotional abuse was about to escalate into something far more dangerous. The tension in Emma Collins's marriage had reached its breaking point. Ryan Carter, her once loving husband, had grown cold and distant. His affair with Angela Harris, supported by his mother Helena, had shattered Emma's trust. But she still held on to a flicker of hope that somewhere beneath the betrayal, there was still a chance to mend what was broken. It came as a surprise when Ryan approached her one morning with a suggestion. "Emma," he said, his tone unusually calm, "why don't we go on a hiking trip this weekend? Just us and Mom. It'll be good to get away from everything, clear our heads, and spend some time together." Emma's instincts told her something was off. Ryan's sudden cheerfulness felt forced, and Helena's involvement only added to her unease. Still, she wanted to believe that Ryan was making an effort to repair their relationship. Perhaps this was his way of apologizing, of trying to find common ground again. Against her better judgment, she agreed. The day of the trip arrived, and Emma found herself filled with a mix of anticipation and dread. The three of them drove to a secluded trail on the outskirts of New York, surrounded by dense woods and towering cliffs. The area was remote, far from the usual hiking spots Emma and Ryan used to visit. Helena, ever the perfectionist, had packed snacks and water, her demeanor unusually pleasant. For a moment, Emma allowed herself to believe that maybe, just maybe, this was a genuine attempt at reconciliation. As they began the hike, Emma focused on the beauty around her. The crisp air, the rustling leaves, and the distant sound of birds offered a brief respite from the storm brewing in her life. Ryan and Helena chatted casually, their tone light, but Emma couldn't shake the feeling that their smiles were too calculated, their laughter too hollow. After an hour of trekking, they reached a clearing with a breathtaking view of the valley below. The spot was serene, isolated, and strangely quiet. Ryan suggested they take a break. "Let's stop here for a while," he said, setting down his backpack. "It's the perfect spot to catch our breath." Emma nodded, grateful for the pause, but the nagging suspicion in her gut grew stronger. Helena handed her a bottle of water, her smile unusually wide. "You've been working so hard lately, Emma," she said sweetly. "You deserve a moment to relax." As Emma took a sip, she noticed Ryan and Helena exchanging glances. Before she could decipher their unspoken communication, Ryan spoke again, his tone eerily calm. "Emma, there's something we need to talk about." The words sent a chill down her spine. "What is it?" she asked, her voice wary. Ryan's expression hardened, the warmth she once loved replaced by a cold detachment. "You've been holding us back, Emma," he said bluntly. "Your stubbornness, your refusal to let go of your father's business, it's ruining everything. We've given you enough chances, but it's clear you're not willing to change." Emma froze, her heart pounding. "What are you talking about? I've done everything I can to make this marriage work." Helena stepped forward, her voice dripping with venom. "That's exactly the problem, Emma. You think it's all about you. But Ryan deserves better, someone who understands his worth, someone who can actually support him." The pieces clicked into place, and Emma realized the true nature of their trip. This wasn't about reconciliation. It was a trap. Her stomach turned as she took a step back, her eyes darting toward the trail they had come from. But before she could move, Ryan grabbed her arm. "Don't make this harder than it needs to be," he said, his grip tightening. Emma struggled, her fear giving her strength, but Helena joined in, grabbing Emma's other arm. "Let go of me," Emma screamed, panic surging through her. But they didn't listen. Together, they dragged her toward the edge of the cliff. Helena sneered, her voice cold and detached. "You're just a roadblock, Emma. It's time for you to disappear." Ryan reached for her backpack straps, ripping them off before moving to her hiking gear. In seconds, they had removed her safety harness, the only thing protecting her from a fatal fall. Emma begged and pleaded, tears streaming down her face. Please don't do this. I'll leave. I'll disappear. You'll never see me again. But her cries fell on deaf ears. With a final, chilling push, they shoved her over the edge. Emma's scream echoed through the valley as she tumbled down the rocky slope. The world spun around her, pain shooting through her body as she hit jagged rocks and thorny bushes. Finally, she came to a halt on a narrow ledge, gasping for breath. Her body ached, but she was alive, a miracle she hadn't expected. Through the haze of pain, Emma heard voices above. She's gone, Helena said confidently. No one will find her here. Ryan chuckled darkly. Let's get out of here. As their footsteps faded, Emma's survival instincts kicked in. She forced herself to move, ignoring the searing pain in her limbs. Clinging to the rocks, she slowly made her way down the cliffside, her determination outweighing her fear. She had to survive, not just for herself, but to ensure that Ryan and Helena didn't get away with what they had done. After what felt like hours, Emma reached the base of the cliff, collapsing onto a narrow dirt path. She was exhausted and battered, but she refused to give up. As she lay there, trying to gather her strength, she heard the distant hum of an engine. Looking up, she saw a small helicopter hovering nearby, its passengers scanning the area. With the last bit of strength she had, Emma waved her arms, screaming for help. The helicopter descended, and two figures emerged, Andrew and Emily Carter, hikers who had been exploring the area. They rushed to her side, their faces filled with concern. What happened? Andrew asked, helping her sit up. They tried to kill me, Emma gasped, her voice trembling. My husband and his mother, they pushed me off the cliff. Emily, holding a phone, nodded grimly. We saw everything from the helicopter. We've got it all on video. Relief washed over Emma as Andrew and Emily helped her into the helicopter. She wasn't alone anymore. She had witnesses, evidence, and a fighting chance to bring Ryan and Helena to justice. As the helicopter lifted off, Emma looked out at the forest below, her resolve stronger than ever. She had survived their betrayal, and now it was her turn to fight back. Emma Collins had narrowly escaped the clutches of death, but she knew her fight wasn't over. The betrayal by Ryan Carter and Helena Parker wasn't just a personal attack, it was a crime that demanded justice. Her determination to hold them accountable became her driving force, and she wouldn't rest until they faced the consequences of their actions. When Emma returned to safety, Andrew and Emily Carter wasted no time in stepping up to help. The video evidence they had captured from their helicopter clearly showed Ryan and Helena's heinous act. The recording not only revealed the moment they pushed Emma off the cliff, but also captured their cold laughter and callous remarks as they assumed she was dead. It was undeniable proof of their intent to kill. Andrew, a seasoned attorney, assured Emma that the video would be a cornerstone in building a solid case. They can't talk their way out of this, he said firmly. This video shows premeditation, intent, and their complete disregard for your life. It's more than enough to bring them to justice. Emma, supported by Andrew and Emily, went straight to the local authorities. At the police station, she recounted every detail of the attack while Andrew submitted the video evidence. Detective Collins, who was assigned to the case, was appalled by the cold-blooded nature of the crime. We'll make sure they don't get away with this, he promised Emma. Within days, Ryan and Helena were arrested at their home. The police arrived unannounced, catching them off guard. Their confident demeanor quickly faded as they realized the seriousness of the charges against them. Both were charged with attempted murder and conspiracy, and the video evidence left no room for denial. The trial began a few weeks later, and the courtroom was packed with reporters and curious onlookers. The case had attracted significant media attention, and Emma's story had become a symbol of resilience and the pursuit of justice. Emma, though nervous, was ready to face Ryan and Helena. She refused to let fear dictate her life any longer. The prosecution built a compelling case. They began by presenting the video evidence, which left the courtroom in stunned silence. The footage was damning, showing Ryan and Helena's deliberate actions and their cold laughter after shoving Emma over the cliff. The prosecutor emphasized the calculated nature of their plan, pointing out that they had chosen an isolated hiking trail and taken steps to remove Emma's safety gear before the attack. Emma's testimony was the emotional heart of the trial. Taking the stand, she spoke with courage and conviction about the betrayal she had endured. "Ryan was the man I trusted with my life," she said, her voice trembling but steady. "And Helena was like a second mother to me. But their greed and selfishness led them to do something unthinkable. They tried to end my life because I didn't fit into their plans anymore." As she described the attack, the courtroom hung on her every word. She recounted the fear she felt the moment she realized their intentions and her desperate fight for survival. Her raw, heartfelt testimony left a powerful impression on the jury. Ryan and Helena's defense team attempted to paint the attack as an accident. They claimed Emma had slipped during the hike and that their actions were misinterpreted. But the video evidence and Emma's testimony dismantled their arguments. The prosecution also called Andrew and Emily Carter to the stand, and their eyewitness account further solidified the case. "We saw everything," Andrew testified. "It wasn't an accident. They pushed her deliberately and left her to die." Ryan and Helena's composure began to crack as the trial progressed. Their confident facade gave way to visible desperation as the weight of the evidence mounted against them. The jury's reaction was clear. There was no sympathy for their actions, only disgust at their betrayal and cruelty. After weeks of testimony, the jury reached a unanimous verdict: guilty on all charges. When the judge announced the sentence, life imprisonment without the possibility of parole, a wave of relief washed over Emma. Justice had been served. As Ryan and Helena were led out of the courtroom in handcuffs, Emma felt a mixture of emotions. There was sadness for what she had lost, the life she thought she had, the love she believed was real. But there was also a sense of triumph. They had tried to destroy her, but she had survived and fought back. They would spend the rest of their lives paying for their actions. Outside the courthouse, Emma was greeted by Andrew, Emily, and her parents. Their hugs and words of encouragement reminded her that she wasn't alone in her journey. She had people who believed in her, who had stood by her when she needed them most. In the days that followed, Emma began to rebuild her life. The scars of betrayal would take time to heal, but she was determined not to let them define her. She focused on her business, her passion, and her future. The fight for justice had given her a new strength, one that she carried with her as she looked ahead. For Emma, the trial was more than just a legal battle. It was a declaration that she wouldn't be silenced, that she wouldn't let betrayal and cruelty win. Ryan and Helena had tried to take everything from her, but she had risen above their malice. Now, she was free to live the life she deserved, stronger and more determined than ever before. Emma Collins's journey to recovery was not an easy one, but it was a path she was determined to walk. After the trial ended and justice was served, Emma moved in with her parents, seeking refuge in the familiarity of their love and support. Their home became her sanctuary, a place where she could begin to process the unimaginable betrayal she had endured. Her parents stood by her side through every tear-filled night and moment of doubt. Her mother's gentle words and her father's unwavering encouragement reminded Emma that she wasn't alone. Yet, she knew that true healing would require more than just the comfort of loved ones. Emma decided to seek therapy, a choice that would prove to be transformative. In her sessions, Emma confronted the emotional scars left by Ryan and Helena's betrayal. She unpacked the pain of their manipulation, the fear she had felt during the attack, and the lingering sense of loss. Therapy became a safe space where she could rebuild her self-worth and rediscover her inner strength. Slowly but surely, Emma began to see herself not as a victim, but as a survivor. One of the most significant steps in her healing process was reclaiming her love for nature and the outdoors. For a long time, the thought of hiking brought back painful memories of the attack. But Emma refused to let fear dictate her life. With time and determination, she ventured back to the trails she once loved. The fresh air, the sound of birds, and the feeling of the earth beneath her feet reminded her of the resilience she had within her. She was no longer defined by what had happened to her. She was reclaiming her life, one step at a time. As Emma healed, she discovered a new sense of purpose. Inspired by the support she had received during her recovery, she decided to pursue a career in counseling. She enrolled in a local program, eager to learn how to help others who had faced betrayal, trauma, and hardship. Emma's survival story became a source of strength, not just for herself, but for those she hoped to guide and inspire. She wanted to be a beacon of hope for others, a reminder that it was possible to rise above even the darkest of circumstances. Writing also became a powerful tool for Emma. She began journaling her experiences, pouring her thoughts and emotions onto the page. Through her writing, she reflected on her journey, from the betrayal that nearly destroyed her to the empowerment she felt in fighting back. Each word was a testament to her resilience and growth. Emma's reflection brought her a sense of closure. She realized that while Ryan and Helena's betrayal had left deep wounds, they hadn't broken her. Instead, they had taught her the strength of her own spirit. She was no longer defined by their actions, but by her ability to overcome them. As Emma moved forward, she embraced a new chapter in her life. Free from the shadows of her past, she found herself stronger, more confident, and ready to face the future with an open heart. Her story was no longer one of betrayal. It was a story of survival, empowerment, and the unshakable will to rebuild.